Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux, taking a look at the feature race at Del Mar on Saturday. Let's throw up the field for race number 9. It's the Grade 2, $250,000 Pat O'Brien. We're going 7/8 of a mile. Ashley, I'm really looking forward to this race because you've got the best sprinter in the country in the 6, the Chosen Vron, taking on a horse that many believe is the best overall older horse in the country, the 7, Senor Buscador.
This is going to be an interesting matchup between these two. Obviously, there are 6 other rivals for these two in the field, but I think the big question here is the 7/8 distance. I think when we think of Senor Buscador, we're thinking tooth turns, we're thinking longer, but we haven't seen him since March. This is a stepping stone to see where he's at after coming back from Dubai. And in the case of the Chosen Vron, 7/8 has not been an issue from him in the past, and he's a horse that they finally gave him a lot more chances, I should say, in the last year and a half or so to test the deeper waters, and he's proven that he's up to that task.
Strong supporting cast as well, led by graded stakes winners Happy Jack, Big City Lights, and Raging Torrent, who is in exceptional form coming into this race for Doug O'Neill. We'll start things off with one of the outsiders after we look at our Timeform US pace projector. Raging Torrent is super fast. We saw that last time out in the Maxfield where he actually outfooted World Record to the lead. World Record came back and won the Amsterdam with a big buyer and is expected to be the pace setter in Saturday's 8 Allen Jerkins. This guy's quick.
He's very quick. And I know we talk about California speed, but I think when you look at races specifically at Churchill, sometimes those 7/8 races, we can see wicked times. And that has been the case for this guy's last 2 victories. And he's just done it so easy, Dan. So I think he's the one that we've seen, at least as of late. He wants the lead. He will be part of the pace in here. But we know the Chosen Vron, he doesn't like to be too far off of it. He does not need the lead to win. He can be, fine sitting second, third, just a length or so off the pace setters. But the pace, as expected in this event, should be very quick.
And if it is, it helps Senor Buscador. He doesn't have a ton of early speed, especially at this shorter distance, but he has the strongest Timeform US late pace rating and a ton of class. Moose Mitchell is the number 1. He finished 3rd last time out in the Thor's Echo Stakes, a race restricted to Calbreds, and look who beat him that day, the Chosen Vron, the king of the Calbreds. So Moose Mitchell's going to have to do better because he's not only just facing the Chosen Vron in here, but a very good field.
I just wonder if 2023 was his year. He had a lot of wins, a lot of good performances, even when he wasn't winning. And just to see the way he's been handled now in 2024, he's had 3 starts, and they've all had layoffs or breaks in between them. And now we're going to see him for the first time since May 25th. His running style hasn't been the same in his last couple. He usually is somewhat close to it, and they've tried different things where he's been chasing the pace. Or I know 2 starts back at Turf Paradise, he did not get the trip that he wanted. So maybe there are excuses to be made, but regardless, even at his best, if he was able to replicate something from, say, 2023, I do think he's a touch below the others in here.
See through at the number 2, another one of the Chosen Vron's recent victims. He was no match for him in the Bing Crosby last time out. He got up close to the moderate pace with the Chosen Vron while in between horses, and while he was steady just a little bit, I have a feeling he was already a beaten horse at that juncture. He finished an okay 4th. He has run some solid figures in the past. Again, it's a tough field for him.
Very tough field. And you know what? I will say his Bing Crosby performance, it was decent. He obviously outran his odds. I don't think it was a bad performance, but just looking at the lack of finish there and going down the page, sometimes when he's tried 6.5, he hasn't had that late punch. You can see that 4 starts back. Sure, maybe he needed a start in the Kona Gold. He just has had a tough time facing these horses in the past, and I wonder if 7/8 is a little too far for him.
The number 3 is Happy Jack, and maybe 7 furlongs is just what the doctor ordered for this guy, as we'll see in this video. The Triple Bend 2 starts back. Now it's a short field, and he got away with a very easy pace. When Happy Jack goes almost 46 seconds to the half, and he's on the lead, he's going to be really tough to catch. But it's worth noting that the horse he beat, Dr. Venkman, came back to win the San Diego in impressive fashion. They tried him 6 furlongs in the Bing Crosby last time out, Ashley, and I was really surprised he was so far back early, and maybe that pace at 6 is just too fast for him.
And I think the issue, too, going to the Bing Crosby is it's not that he necessarily was that far back. It's who was in front of him. Horses like the Chosen Vron can keep on going all day, especially at 6 furlongs. And I just felt like he wasn't able to close on anyone in there. He's sort of even from the back of the pack. Because the reason I wanted to point that out is you go down the page, look at, May 2023 at Churchill. He was able to close on those fractions. He's been able to close in the past. I do think As of late, though, we've seen so far in 2024 as a 5-year-old, he is much more comfortable being close to the pace. We saw that 2 starts back, as we showed in the Triple Bend, but even in the Kona Gold, I thought it was a very game performance behind the Chosen Bronze. So we'll see if he can turn the tables. That'll be the big question for him. But certainly, you cannot knock his performance 2 back. A very eye-catching Beyer speed figure, and he just did it with ease.
As a 3-year-old taking on elders for the first time, the 4 Raging Torrent gets 7 pounds from the likes of Senor Buscador and the Chosen Braun, and maybe he doesn't need it considering his last 2 races. Blowout wins at Churchill, going 7 furlongs with big figures, and again, he beat world record last time out. That horse won the Amsterdam in his next start with a 101 Beyer.
Yeah, he seems like he's taken a huge step forward from 2 to 3. He's worn blinkers in those last 2 starts, and he has just been dominating the competition at Churchill. I do think this is going to be a test for class. He's going to take a big step forward here. He has to face some of the big names that we've already mentioned. But to me, to see him now consistently have 104 and then a 98 Beyer speed figure, I just think he has gotten so much better at the right time.
Big City Lights couldn't solve the Chosen Braun. The Chosen Braun beat him 4 consecutive races, 2022, 2023. He gets away from the Chosen Braun. Big City Lights loved it. He won a second level allowance. He won the Palos Verdes. Last time out in the Triple Bend, we saw he was wired by Happy Jack. He maybe needed that race, Ashley. It was his first start since February. He just has to see the Chosen Braun again.
He does, and we know how that has turned out in the past. I think there is maybe room for improvement off his last out effort. He's just going to make his second start since the winter. When you go 2 starts back, that was all the way back in February, and he put 2 big consecutive races in. They gave him some time off. I think it was okay, and maybe he could take a step forward here. Kazushi Kimura is going to climb aboard him for the first time. I wonder how aggressive he'll be with Big City Lights early. I think, this is a horse that likes to chase the pace, and whether he can win or not, maybe that's a little bit, in my opinion, a lofty goal, but he's always there. Look at his record. I think if you like him in here and he offers value, he's maybe a horse to consider underneath.
The Chosen Braun has won 14 of his last 15, 19 of 24. He's just a cool horse, and he dances every dance. And his Bing Crosby arguably was one of the more visually impressive performances we've seen. We take a look at the Chosen Braun. It wasn't a very fast pace, but he was hung out 4 wide on the backstretch pushing it, and his rider really is just hand riding him all the way down to the wire. I don't even think the Chosen Braun was asked for his best, and he did earn his career best, 105 Beyer.
Yeah, since teaming up with Hector Barrios, I mean, they have a beautiful partnership. We've seen that time and time again. He really rides this gelding very well. And, obviously any horse is beatable on their biggest days. I just love his forward ability. He can be on the lead. He can rate. He's proven at 7/8. He can win at 6. And I think, when you speak about his resume and his accomplishments, he's made almost 1.7 the hard way. He hasn't been in these graded stakes, these big graded stakes where the purse money is big for that long. He had to do it the hard way in a lot of those Calbred races, but he has just gotten better with age. And I think this year we've seen a new dimension from him. His wins have typically been quite easy.
Senor Buscador was 3rd in this race in 2022, but he's a much better horse now. And you could tell it in the Cigar Mile, a race that was run over an intensely speed-favoring track, and he was still charging at the end behind gate-to-wire winner Hoist the Goal. We saw it in the Pegasus World Cup, where he threw a scare into National Treasure. He wins the Saudi Cup. And then in Dubai, he ran on quite well to be 3rd. The winner of that race just absolutely freaked out, Laurel River. And one of the horses, Senor Buscador, who is so far back and comes with his usual kick, one of the horses he finishes ahead of is Krupi, who came back to run 2nd in the Brooklyn and then won the Suburban, I believe.
And, to look at what he was able to do this year, he was 2nd behind National Treasure, as you mentioned. He had to go to Saudi Arabia. Then he had to go to Maidan. That can be a lot of stress on a horse, and he seemed unfazed by it all. He was training very well up to each of these races, and he performed well. And I think looking at the Dubai World Cup, I know he's defeated by 9 lengths in that performance, but he's facing much tougher in terms of 2-turn horses than he's going to face in this field. But that's the big thing. This isn't going 2 turns. This is going 7/8. And you just have to feel that this is a stepping stone for something bigger. So we'll see how he can run. Obviously, I prefer him going longer than 7/8, but you also have to wonder if his class just carries him in a spot like this.
Arrow the Great completes the field, and maybe he was pace compromised last time out, going a mile, a race where they ran 1, 2, 3 all the way around the track. It was his first race off a short layoff, but when you look at his prior starts against graded stakes competition, it just hasn't worked out for him. I think the connections are hoping that maybe a cutback in distance helps, as well as a hot pace.
I agree. I think you're looking at his mile and an eighth effort, mile and a quarter, 2 starts back. He just hasn't been effective at those longer distances. So maybe 7/8 works well for him. He's typically tried to race out a mile. He's another one. He's lightly raced in 2024, just making his third start, 2 consecutive starts now. But I do think he'll be a big price in here, and he's really going to need to stamp himself as being able to take a step forward. His number last time out, not necessarily that far off of others, but the level of competition is.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Pat O'Brien. I just don't want to have any money in against the Chosen Vron. No disrespect to Senor Buscador, but 7/8 of a mile just seems to be made for the Chosen Vron.
I'm on the bandwagon. I think he's the real deal. He's shown that time and time again. And I don't want to just pick a horse because of his resume, but his resume shows you a lot. It shows his effectiveness being near the lead or sitting just off of it. And I don't think he has any issues. He's in top form right now. And just really, for me, a race that I'll probably just watch, Dan. I really want to see how he runs. And obviously, Senior Buscador, thinking about as we approach the Breeders' Cup, where we might see these two.
If I'm playing this race, I might split the two chalks with the sharp raging torrent who might try to get the jump on him from the opening bell. 6-7-3-5 for Ashley, 6-4-7-2 for me. It's the Pat O'Brien Saturday's feature at Del Mar. Best of luck.